Everyone loves a good underdog story, and here are real-life instances of individuals and teams that said, it's not over till it's over. Starting with one you might not have heard of. Curtis John Pride was born deaf due to rubella and had only 5% residual hearing. He was very fluent at lip reading but could barely speak. However, he didn't use his disability as an excuse, but indulged himself even more than many abled people would. He played baseball, soccer, and basketball, and was far from average in each sport. In soccer, he went as far as playing in the U17 World Cup in 1985 in China, where he scored a match winner against Bolivia. Then he made his MLB debut in 1993 at 25 years old, being the first deaf player to play in the MLB 47 years before Dick Cypek's debut in 1945. The left-handed batter played in 7 different teams throughout his 13-year career, including the New York Yankees and the Boston Red Sox. His 5% residual hearing meant he could still hear the crack of the bat, but he was always a second option for his team. However, with any chance he was given, he made sure he made it count. In his first season with the Detroit Tigers, he had a batting average of .300. He recorded 52 runs, 80 hits, and 11 stolen bases. In spite of all these obstacles, Pride had a career batting average of .250, 20 home runs, and 82 runs batted in. These are numbers not every able Major League Baseball player can boast of. But the same cannot be said about Tony Conigliaro, whose story went from sad to joyful and then to sad again. What adversity did Tony Conigliaro have to battle to have an award and a bleacher section named after him? Actually, a lot. Anthony Richard Conigliaro didn't start off as an underdog, rather he was quite the opposite. Signing with the Red Sox at just 17 years of age, he batted .270 with 24 home runs in 111 games. In his sophomore year, he broke records like being the youngest home run champion in American League history and reaching 100 career home runs at just 22. So, what made him an underdog? Well, in 1967, while batting against the California Angels, Tony was hit by a pitch which led to a cheekbone fracture, a dislocated jaw, and severe damage to his left eye. He was carried on to a stretcher off the field, and it seemed young Tony's career was moving fast had come to an abrupt end. But only after a year and a half later, Conigliaro returned to the game to register 82 RBIs in 141 games, which earned him the Comeback Player of the Year award. Tony would go on to reach career-high numbers of 36 home runs and 116 RBIs in the 1970 season. Tony's resilience proved that the injury he suffered was a minor setback and not a reason to think he was done with the game. Sadly for the Red Sox hero, Tony Conigliaro's run came to an end in 1975 as his sight in his left eye had become permanently damaged. He soon died in 1990 following a heart attack that led to a stroke, which in turn led him to a coma and subsequent death. The Tony Conigliaro Award is given yearly by the Red Sox organization to a player who was able to overcome adversity through hard work and resilience. The next underdog suffered so much injury, they had to name a surgery after him. Thomas Edward John Jr. was as tough as nails. We'll see how his tenacious nature earned him the nickname the Bionic Man. Despite graduating as valedictorian of his school, he didn't give a speech because he had a stutter. Tommy signed with the Cleveland Indians in 1963 and enjoyed a decent season with them before moving to the Chicago White Sox, where tragedy would strike. In 1968, during a game against the Detroit Tigers, Tommy threw a ball over Dick McAuliffe, which infuriated the Tigers batter, prompting him to charge the mound as a fight broke out between the two players. Dick McAuliffe was suspended and fined, a punishment he wouldn't regret given how badly Tommy John was hurt in the scuffle. Tommy suffered torn shoulder ligaments, ruling him out for the rest of the season. Traded to the Los Angeles Dodgers, Tommy John would still take a few more bruises. In 1972, his season ended early as he dislodged bone chips from his left arm in a game against the Giants. He suffered a series of injuries, but things took a turn for the worse when during a game against the Montreal Expos, Tommy threw a sinking fastball and suddenly felt a strange feeling in his pitching arm. John was permanently damaged the ulnar collateral ligament in his left arm. Dodgers team physician Dr. Frank Jobe tried all sorts sorts of therapy on the arm for a month to no avail. With all indications that he may never be able to pitch again, Tommy John's career was hanging in the balance. Desperate times called for desperate measures. A pioneer special surgical operation was required to replace Tommy's damaged ligaments in his elbow, a surgery procedure that would be named after him and plenty other players would undergo generations after. Recovery was long and slow. His hand appeared shriveled as it stayed in a cast for several months. Year and a half after the surgery, he was back in the league like he never left. In his second game back, he pitched 7 scoreless innings against the Houston Astros, going on to make over 30 starts for the Dodgers with a 3.09 ERA and 91 strikeouts in 207 innings pitched. It was almost as if he got even better after the surgery. This extraordinary story of defying odds earned him the National League Comeback Player of the Year award, the Hutchinson Awards, and the nickname, the Bionic Man. But enough about players, let's hear some amazing team stories. If you want to know how it feels to have the odds stacked against you, ask the 2011 St. Louis Cardinal baseball team. Before the season started, the Cardinals were picking up free agents such as pitcher Brian Talbot, Lance Berkman, Jake Westbrook, and many more. The Cardinals didn't have any high-profile signings and were negotiating contracts for players nobody would go for. Their ace pitcher, Adam Wainwright, who was coming off last season making the MLB All-Stars and runner-up for the National League Cy Young Award voting, was ruled out for the 2011 season. He suffered discomfort in his right elbow during practice and needed Tommy John surgery. As an indicator to how poor the Cardinals were going to perform, they lost their opening game against the San Diego Padres in March. The rest of the season was riddled with injuries and inconsistency, and the Cardinals could only make it to the wild card on the last day of regular season. Having beaten the Philadelphia Phillies in their first meeting in the postseason, they faced the Milwaukee Brewers in the National League Championship Series. Despite losing the first game 9-6, Cardinals led 2-1 going into Game 4 of the series, and the series went to Game 6, where the Cardinals emerged victorious. Even if they were lucky, their fairy tale run had to come to an end in the World Series against the Texas Rangers, right? Well, the Cardinals won Game 1 of the series, but the Texas Rangers won the next 2 to take a 2-1 lead in the series, and after Game 5, the Rangers were winning the series 3-2. Cardinals needed to perform a miracle. They came back from 2 deficits as the game went to 11 innings, with David Reese's game-winning home run sending the series to Game 7. In front of 47,000 fans, the Cardinals won Game 7 with a 6-2 win, clinching the World Series. It was a spectacle to see. The Cardinals may have had a mid-squad, but there was nothing mid about their spirit. This was the same spirit the Red Sox showed in 2004. Entering the 2004 season, having lost the American League Championship Series to the New York Yankees the year before, the Red Sox were far from the center of attention. They ended the regular season with a 98-64 record and a 6.05 winning average, and went to the division series where they swept the Anaheim Angels. Guess who was waiting for them at the championship series? The New York Yankees. Same team that sent them home the previous year. Boston Red Sox lost the first 3 games of the series. In Game 4, they were trailing 4-3 by the 9th inning, and the Boston Red Sox fans were already leaving the stadium. You know you have next to no hope when even your beloved fans are throwing in the towel. With the Yankees bringing on Mariano Rivera, one of the best pitchers, no one was ready for what was about to happen next. The fans that stayed behind would be rewarded as the Red Sox forced a 12th inning and won the game 6-4. They'd go on to beat the Yankees in Game 5, 6, and 7 to win the World Series. This was the first time in Major League Baseball history a team recovered from a 3-0 deficit in the championship series. The Boston Red Sox would defeat the Cardinals in 4 games to win their first World Series since 1918. If you enjoyed this video about baseball underdogs, check out the video on the screen now, or the one we posted below, because we're sure you'll like that one too. See you there.